Hello everyone. Welcome to my Day 11 session. And today we are going to start a new topic which will be Ansible. Ansible, which is a configuration management tool. A very interesting topic, a very easy topic, definitely. So this Ansible topic will be, I'll cover this Ansible topic in maybe 2 or 3 sessions. Day 11, day 12, and day 13 will be Ansible topics, wherein I'll try to cover everything, a wide variety of use cases also in Ansible, which are very much commonly used in IT industry, which you being a part of IT industry will use pretty much normally. Okay, so now it's a day 11 session. As you can see, we have day sessions till day 10. So in case if you have joined in for the first time today, please go ahead and join in sessions from day 1 to day 10 also. You will certainly learn lots of things. And if you feel as if my sessions are good enough and can be shared with your friends, family members, please do share with them so that they can also get some advantage of it. And in case if you did not subscribe my channel, please provide your support by subscribing my channel. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so let's begin. So now let's first understand what is Ansible and why do we need Ansible and how was the time and how IT industry was surviving without Ansible, because it's not as in IT industry is growing now. It's been couple of decades when IT industry is going. So how was the situation before Ansible? So even before Ansible, they were build engineers, they were sysadmins who were dealing with a number of such scenarios. Sysadmins had certain issues. So let's talk about certain problem statements, which Ansible actually tried to support, which Ansible actually tried to mitigate by its involvement, by its introduction, because of which IT industry started using configuration management tools. So what we will do first is we'll try to learn first our configuration management tool. Okay, first, we'll try to learn configuration management tool and gradually we will enter into this specific tool, which is Ansible, which is a kind of giant in the world of configuration management tool now. So now let's first understand the problem statement. So what the problem statement was? So sysadmin, consider that sysadmin, so, because that was the time when all these operational activities were handled by sysadmin or build engineers or different type of job profiles were there who were managing these operational activities. What they were doing, they had multiple servers to take care of, and by that time it was mostly mostly the era of on-premise servers. So we had mostly all the on-premise servers. Don't go with my drawings, but just go with my teachings and my delivery. So now, initially, sysadmins were the one who were actually working on provisioning, managing all the servers. Now there could be plenty of servers which these sysadmin guys were handling. The team of sysadmin were handling, and those were of different distribution also. Could be as if there are maybe thousands of servers, maybe thousands of servers, and out of these thousands of servers there may be some maybe 250 servers of Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system, could have 500 of CentOS operating system, could be 200 of Ubuntu operating system, and could be remaining of Windows operating system, remaining of Windows operating system. Hopefully, I just made it 1,000. Remaining of Windows operating system. So now what is happening is this sysadmin guy has to manage all these servers. Now, even though the server count is 1,000 and it's been distributed across different operating system, different distribution of Linux operating system, because like the way Red Hat Enterprise Linux, CentOS, Ubuntu, they all are of Linux operating system, but they are different distributions. Now, being a sysadmin, they have to do a number of different things. What they have to do, they have to perhaps perform certain patching activities, maybe certain security patches, some security patches, because of which they can make their infrastructure more resilient so that any bug cannot attack the environment, any bug cannot be, the environment cannot be impacted by any of the external bugs which normally these vendors releases every now and then, or certain at perhaps at one quarter when they release, one has to implement it, one has to apply the patches to their environment so that they can make their environment more and more resilient. Second type of a scenario is they have to certainly perform certain installation or maybe perform certain upgrades also. maybe certain upgrades. For example, if I talk about any of the operating system, then these operating system certainly will go through a certain level of upgrades. CentOS, Ubuntu, Windows will go through certain level of upgrades. So these sysadmins responsibility will include performing patches security, performing upgrades also, and also they will also be highly involved in installing some base softwares, some installations, right? Some installation. It might happen that the application is a Java based, and being a part of sysadmin, you are asked to install Java latest version in all the machines. So now think it in this way: if it's a one server, you can easily do it. If it's a two server or 100 servers, still it's doable. But it's thousands of servers, or in case if the server count increases even beyond 1,000, then it will be a tough task for you being a sysadmin to handle, to manage all those servers together. So what sysadmin has done by that time sysadmin has came up with certain solutions. It's not as in everything was manual even in those decades. And this I'm talking about on-premise setup, on premises. This is something which was there in on premises. So in when everything was there on premises, then sysadmin were managing all these servers by writing certainly certain scripts, and those scripts were also based on operating system, were pretty much specific to operating system. So what this sysadmin guy used to do, this sysadmin guy used to write certain scripts. What sort of script were available? We had shell script, we had PowerShell script. PowerShell script. So shell script is very much specific to Linux operating system. It can't be used in Windows. And PowerShell is very much specific to Windows operating system. It can't be used in Linux. But shell script is different for different operating systems. So shell script will be different for if the operating system is of type CentOS, then shell script will be different for CentOS operating system, will be certainly different for maybe Ubuntu operating system, and will be certainly different for if I talk about Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Most probably Red Hat Enterprise Linux and CentOS follow same sort of binaries and same sort of libraries. So CentOS and Red Hat Enterprise Linux can accommodate with similar sort of script, but definitely if I talk about Ubuntu, it will be a separate shell script which has to be written for Ubuntu operating system. And definitely it will be different for Windows operating system. Now what you're seeing here is, with the difference in operating system, you have different sort of scripts which sysadmin has to write, right? And that was a tough task by that time. That was a kind of challenging scenario by that time. So in order to mitigate that, there has to be some sort of mitigation plan which company came up with, because this is something which I'm talking only about the era of on premises. But gradually things changed, right? Gradually things change. Now it's not as in cloud, it's not as in IT industry were running in on premise setup only for the lifetime. Gradually cloud came, and with the commencement of cloud, gradually what happened? Cloud came. Cloud setup started. And with the cloud setup, count of server increased from 1,000 to many folds of thousands increased, right? So now consider that if I talk about, say it increased by tenfold only, then 1,000 becomes 10,000, and one has to manage 10,000s of servers with perhaps different types of operating system, different distribution of different types of operating system. One has to manage, sysadmin has to manage, and it is even the challenging task. So here I can think about two different use cases. With the advancement of cloud, with the inception of cloud, I can think about two different types of use cases. First use case is the count of server went very high. Count of server went very high. So with the advancement of cloud, now the server count became tenfold. Now the server count became 10 times. And now with the increase in server count, what happened is the management of servers, maybe installation, upgrade, patching, such activities were even cumbersome, were even tough to manage by a sysadmin. Now, even after cloud, the current setup is of microservices, right? Even after cloud, the current services is microservices, where even more count of servers, even more concept of servers is even prominent. with the use of microservices. So it is even being challenging. So this is one type of use case which you can think about, where sysadmin were facing lots of challenges with the traditional, with the trivial format of writing shell script or PowerShell script. Another type of use cases is with Windows and Linux, because there were two different kind of operating system, where there were two, actually there were three different kind of operating system. One was Windows, another was Linux, and another was Mac. So basically, three different kind of operating systems were there, but more prominent were these two type of operating system, Linux and Windows. But in Linux also we do have multiple distributions. We do have Ubuntu, Alpine, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and those different type of operating systems are there. So now in case if one is asked to perform patches or upgrades on all the servers which is as of now being used in IT industry, then the traditional approach is that the sysadmin will log in into each of the server and will perform those upgrade activities, will perhaps run the shell script or PowerShell script by logging into these servers. So for Linux, the approach to log in into server is perhaps by using SSH. In Windows, you will log in by using WinRM. So it was a challenging task for one to log in into each and every server and then to execute scripts, which is again different for different sort of operating system, different distributions of Linux operating system, different operating systems like Windows and Mac. These were certain challenging use cases which IT industry has seen without the use of configuration management tool. And that is where the concept came. That is where the concept came, which is called configuration management tool. So if I have to define what is configuration management, what is configuration management tool, then it is a concept which helps. So basically configuration management tool is a concept which can work well with different type of operating system, which can work well with different distributions in Linux operating system. But the main purpose to have this configuration management tool is because we wanted to aim to solve the problem of managing infrastructure in multiple servers of different configuration. So the main aim of bringing configuration management tool is to solve the problem which this admin team were facing initially, to manage different infrastructure of different distributions and different operating systems also. And that was being solved by the use of configuration management tool. So what configuration management tool it is? So first is, it is a concept, right? It is used to solve management of multiple servers, right? Multiple servers can be solved with the use of configuration management tool. Management of multiple servers across all those servers which is being used in IT industry. It also solves the problem of managing different operating systems, managing heterogeneous operating system environment, right? So these were basically advantages of using of configuration management tool. Now when configuration management tool came, then certainly there were different types of configuration management tool. So initially when configuration management tool came, it was not as in Ansible was the first choice of the developer of configuration management tool. No, Ansible came much later. Ansible came somewhere around 2016, 2017. But configuration management tool is present with us for pretty much long. So the first choice of developers of configuration management tool was Puppet, Puppet, and Chef. So these were two different configuration management tool which were introduced pretty much long. Ansible came, like the way I said, somewhere in year 2016, 2017. But after Ansible came, Ansible became more and more and more famous. So in my today's session, basically I'll be talking only about theoretical part of Ansible. But in our tomorrow session, I'll be talking about much in detail about Ansible, its usage, how to install Ansible, how to work along with Ansible, Ansible playbook, notebooks, and management of multiple servers along with Ansible. More and more advantages of Ansible you will get to know after its practical implementation. So stay with me, watch my videos completely, today's video and tomorrow's video completely, so that you can understand entire workflow of Ansible. So if you want to learn Ansible, this is the right place you are into now, viewers. Okay, so now let's get into more. Let's talk more about what made Ansible so famous. What was the difference in between Puppet? And this is one of the very commonly asked interview question in today's days. In nowadays, normally whenever you sit for any DevOps interview, very commonly asked interview question is, what makes Ansible so famous than any other configuration management tool, or what is the difference in between Puppet, Chef, or Ansible as the configuration management tool? So I won't be able to compare all the configuration management tool, but the most normally asked question is, what is the difference in between Puppet and Ansible? Let's try to understand that question now. So difference in between Puppet and Ansible is, say if you have to compare Puppet versus Ansible, which one is better? I mean, there was a time when Puppet was very famous, but now the way Ansible is catching up market, there is no way Puppet stands closer to Ansible. Almost 95% of companies nowadays is working with Ansible. I'm not saying that 100% of the companies is working with Ansible. Still, there are some of the companies which works with Puppet. Even when I started my career, I used Puppet to begin with, but gradually companies moved into Ansible. So now let's talk about the difference in between Puppet and Ansible. Okay. So now the major thing, the most important thing which makes Ansible so famous is the agentless architecture of Ansible. Agentless architecture of Ansible. So what does it actually mean when I say agentless? So now a few minutes back I said that the main concept why we brought configuration management tool is to manage thousands or maybe 10,000s of servers, because being in cloud native environment nowadays we have 10,000 servers and the server count is increasing exponentially with the use of microservices. Because think it in this way, I mean, if you have Christmas or if you have any of the festive season, that certainly the load which falls on any of the e-commerce website goes very high. Amazon, Flipkart, any of the e-commerce website, the count of users goes exponentially high when it's a festive season. So they have to manage it with the scaling out of their infrastructure, bringing in more and more servers in scope, right? And those has to be managed properly. So with the use of Ansible, you will be able to manage those servers with agentless architecture. What does it mean, agentless? That basically means that you no need to install any Ansible agent in any of the managed servers, in any of the connected servers. So in case of Ansible, you will have in case of Ansible you will have one one managing servers, or one host server, or one controlling server, to which we also known as the master server. And there will be so many count of managed servers. So now the biggest advantage of Ansible is that you no need to install agent on any of these managed servers. That is the reason it's called agentless. But Puppet follows master slave architecture, or Puppet follows master agent architecture. Master agent architecture. So in case of master agent architecture, you have to install Puppet agent in all the server which you want to manage by using Puppet as the configuration management tool. This is very important difference in between Puppet and Ansible, because of which Ansible is so famous. You no need to install any Ansible agent in any of the managed server. You just install Ansible on the master server and start using it. This is very important difference which you have to highlight whenever you are explaining difference of Ansible over Puppet. Also, another very important thing with Ansible is very much compatible with And because we are talking about different type of operating system, different distributions of different operating system, right? So basically what you have to do is you have to just check in case if Ansible is compatible with both Windows, Linux, all the three, Windows, Linux and Mac or not, or at least with Windows or Linux or not. So that these are the most commonly used operating system servers in IT industry. And that is what Ansible gives you. Ansible is compatible with Windows and Linux. Is very much compatible with Windows and Linux. Puppet do have some problems with Windows. Puppet is not that compatible with Windows operating system. Puppet works very good with Linux, but Windows it is having certain problems because of which people do not like using Puppet with Windows. So Puppet is normally tricky to use with Windows. When you're using Puppet with Windows, it is bit tricky. Okay, so now this is another difference. Now, again, when you will start using any of the servers, when you will prefer one of the tool to be better than any other tool, you will prefer using one of the tool if it's simple to use. So now that is another advantage which Ansible offers you. Ansible is simple to use. Ansible is basically written in .yaml file. .yaml file. It is also said as YML or YAML .yaml or .yml file. But to write Puppet, you must know a Puppet native language. Puppet DSL, which is also called as domain specific language. So Puppet is written in Puppet DSL. Puppet DSL, which is also known as domain specific language. Specific language, which you need to learn in order to write a good Puppet configuration management script. So these are very important things. And another very important thing which I was forgetting is Puppet follows Puppet follows a pull-based architecture and Ansible follows a push-based architecture. It follows a pull-based architecture and Ansible follows a push-based architecture. What does it mean in push-based architecture? That basically means that you write your Ansible scripts, to which we also known as Ansible playbooks, which I'm definitely going to show you in our tomorrow session. Which I'm definitely going to show you in tomorrow's session. You write playbook in your Ansible master server, and you just have to execute, you just have to run it in all the managed servers. But in case of Puppet, it's tough. And in Puppet, it's the responsibility of all the connected servers to poll at regular intervals and to pull the configuration from the master server. So it's much different. Pull configuration, responsibility of managed server, all the connected server, all the agent servers to poll at regular intervals what's written there in the Puppet master and pull the configuration from there. But in case of Ansible, it is push based architecture wherein it's the responsibility of Ansible master to push all the configuration to connected servers, right? So this is what we can achieve with the use of Ansible, and these are very important 4 points. So just to give a brief, what we get with Ansible we are getting agentless configuration which is compatible with Windows and Linux. It is simple to use, and also it follows push based architecture, where in case of Puppet follows master agent architecture where agent has to be installed in all the servers. It is tricky to use, and also it tricky to use with Windows server. And also you must have to have knowledge of Puppet DSL in order to work with Puppet. Also Puppet follows a pull based architecture where it's the responsibility of the agent servers to pull the configuration from Puppet master server. So these are the differences, and these are the differences you have to talk about whenever you are asked the differences in between Puppet and Ansible in your interview, which is very commonly asked. Now, another very important thing which you need to understand whenever you're using Ansible is, and this is the last thing which I'll cover in Ansible. I won't bore you much with talking more and more about theory. I'll emphasize and I'll spend more time in giving you ample amount of understanding and knowledge of practicals of Ansible, so that you know, and different type of use cases we are going to cover in our practicals also, so that you can understand well how to use Ansible. And in case if you do have any other expectations from my sessions, please put in the comment section also. Please write it, and certainly I'll work on it. Certainly you will be delivered quite the same sort of expectations, whatever you do have, right? So now the last thing which you must understand in case of in case of Ansible is Ansible, how Ansible manages all the servers, how Ansible is going to manage. So very important thing which you need to understand is how Ansible manages manages all servers, all servers. So how does it happen? It happened because Ansible do have one inventory file with it. So Ansible has inventory file with it, and in this inventory file, we have all the server IP addresses, all the connected servers IP addresses are present here. So all the connected server IP addresses are present here. Addresses are present here. Not only IP address, you can use your DNS also. You can use a range of IPs also, a range of IPs also in this inventory file. So this is inventory file. And whenever you are running playbook, you definitely will call this inventory file so that it can be easily used by many other servers. Very important thing, inventory file. And a question might be there in your mind, is it only the inventory file, and is it like every time we need to update the inventory file with new servers? Because nowadays we talk about cloud, AWS cloud, Azure cloud, and these servers are getting created dynamically every time. You do have a launch configuration in AWS wherein you just set up all the logic, and based on the load automatically server gets created. So now, do we need to always update the public IP address or the DNSs of those servers in inventory file? And the answer is no. What Ansible allows you to do is Ansible allows you to get the dynamic inventory. Dynamic inventory. Now, what you have to do in this case, you have to just tell Ansible that, hey, as any new server gets created, bring that in scope of Ansible. That's it. And Ansible will keep looking for any newly created servers, and as it gets created, automatically Ansible is going to bring it in scope of your Ansible. So just to summarize what we have learned in our today's session. In our today's session, we basically spoke about in our today's session summary. Let's write it as summary. In our today's session, we learned the first thing which we learned was the IT industry, IT industry, IT industry before configuration management tool, before configuration management, before configuration management tool. This is the first thing which we have learned. Second thing which we have learned is what is config management tool. And while we were learning this, we discussed about two different kind of use cases. What is configuration management tool? We spoke about two different kind of use cases, how it manages multiple operating system, management of management of different OSs, different OSs. And second thing which we learned is how to manage count or increase or exponentially increase of servers. How configuration management tool manages exponential increase of servers. After that, we learned about different kind of operating systems. After that, we learned about different kind of operating system, wherein we learned that there is Puppet, Ansible, Shawlstack, Chef. The first to form was Chef and Puppet, but later on, somewhere in year 2016, 2017, Ansible came. But Ansible actually started catching up market by after year 2020 and 2021. Before that, even Puppet was having good grasp of market, but after 2020 and 2021, when Ansible start coming up with different type of modules disposed across Windows and Linux, it is more famous. I'm not saying that Linux is so much famous, I mean, so much good with Windows. Definitely Linux is definitely Ansible is much better working in Linux. But yes, Ansible is compatible with Windows, and it gives you ample amount of flexibility while working on Windows. So different kind of different kinds we learned. After that, we learned about Puppet versus Ansible. Okay. And after that, we ended our session with the inventory in Ansible. Okay. So, friends, this is all about our today's session. This is the day 11 where I started Ansible, and you try to follow this topic by going through the theory part of Ansible. Tomorrow in day 12, I'm going to cover more and more about the practicals of Ansible. So thank you everyone for watching my YouTube channel. In case if you feel as if my YouTube channel could provide more and more support, more and more help to anyone who wants to learn DevOps, please share it with others also. And in case if you did not subscribe, please subscribe my channel. Thank you.